Hello and welcome to the AfterBurners podcast. I'm your host, Samuel Oney, and this is episode 29. 29 episodes, wow. With me online is Wes Spearman. Wes, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Another fairly chill week. I'm back at work again next week though, so but yeah, a week off of F1, and now we're back in the States after a couple of years away. But yeah, how are
Yeah,
you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm very excited by this. Yeah, COTA's back in the States, Austin. Are you excited for it?
I'm quite excited. I mean, obviously we didn't have a US Grand Prix last year for fairly obvious reasons, but I kind of like COTA as a track. Because it's sort of because it's a fairly sort of a new build sort of track because it was sort of opened in 2012, but it sort of nicked bits of other tracks from around the world. So, you got the first corner, which saw that uphill sort of left-hand hairpin. Then after that, you go into sort of an S section, which is similar to
Yeah.
sort of Maggots and Beckett's in at Silverstone. And then there's other bits of other tracks that is sort of inspired by, if you like. So I quite like it as a track itself. I mean, the just before the end of the lap, you've got that quite fast sort of. I think it's two separate corners, but it's like two sort of apexes
Yeah.
as well. I think it's a right-hander. Um, but yeah, as a track as a whole, I do quite like COTA. Whether it's produced entertaining racing, I think it has from memory. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. US Grand Prix 2 years away. So yeah, let's get into it again this weekend.
The crowd are going to be very much on it. I think if there's one thing about COTA, it has a huge fan base, and I think all the drivers are gonna they're gonna receive a warm reception and everything. So yeah, it should be really good to watch. Um,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
was it when I think it was 2017 where the title fight was quite close between Hamilton and Vettel, and I mean, I completely hated this, but I'm sure the American because it was quite a US thing what they did. It was almost like a boxing sort of intro where all they had the two drivers of each team sort of walk out and then sort of go either to the left or to the right, and then once it got down to sort of Mercedes, Ferrari, I think they just had each driver like Bottas, Hamilton, Vettel, Raikkonen just walk out one by one because they were the sort of what was the two main teams then. They just had Hamilton and Vettel sort of either side of. I'm not sure if it was the actual World Championship sort of trophy or if it was the US Grand Prix trophy, but there was just this sort of small podium with a trophy on top. And just had one of them either side, and it was a very US thing to do. And I
yeah.
think the crowd there absolutely loved it. But I mean, watching back home, and a lot of people, from what I remember, thought, no, it's a bit cringe. Does F1 really really need that sort of thing? But yeah, as I mean, for the audience there, it would have been spectacular because I mean, American sports fans are just so. I suppose they're more passionate about like F1 than say British F1 fans, you could say. But I mean, McLaren will be loving it because obviously Zach Brown is American. Daniel Ricciardo loves an American Grand Prix. He went to I can't remember which year it was, but he dressed up as a cowboy or something. He had a Stetson and cowboy boots and sort of. I think Red Bull had a cowboy inspired overalls or livery one year,
Yeah.
if I remember. I think that was 17 or 18. Um, yeah, atmosphere it should be. Really not quite Zandvoort levels with with Verstappen,
Mm.
but I think it should be up. Yeah, the atmosphere is going to be great this weekend.
So the US Grand Prix and back after 2 years, 2019 was the last race. And yeah, just to put it into a bit of context, Valtteri Bottas was the winner, with Hamilton finishing second and Max Verstappen taking third. Hamilton, do you think he'll become a seven-time race winner at the US Grand Prix? He already has six to his
Uh,
name.
I know. Yeah, he does like this track. I think it's not up there with his most wins at a single track. I think that's Hungary and Silverstone with 9 wins. I think, but it's certainly up there in the top half. Um, I don't see why he can't do it this weekend. It's a track that he likes, hence the 6 wins. And I think in 2014 or 2015, he won his either second or third championship at the US Grand Prix with loads of races to spare. So it's a track he's got good memories of, and yeah, I think he'll definitely be pushing for that top spot. If well, I mean, he'd want to get top spot to reclaim the championship lead back. Yeah, I don't see why he can't win again this weekend in COTA and become, yeah, as you say, a 7-time American Grand Prix winner.
Of course. I mean, if I were Hamilton, I'd want to take this. I'd want to take this race as well. I'd want to win it. Especially if I have 6 points to make up against my title rival.
Yeah,
I mean, I take this opportunity and like, which brings me to my next one. Like, who needs it more, Hamilton or Verstappen? Who needs this race win more? Because
at this
this
point,
story is coming to an end.
I know. Yeah, there's what's I think it's six. Is it 6 races left, including this one,
Yes,
or
six
5 races? I
races,
can't quite remember now off the top of my head.
6 races.
But it's just such a close championship, and so at this point in time, I think Hamilton needs it more because I don't think you can be sitting in second place because say Verstappen wins again this weekend, then that's a minimum 6 point lead, or he's going to increase his lead by a minimum of 6 points if Hamilton gets fastest lap. Um, which if that continues for even just another race or two, that's going to be very difficult for Hamilton to then rein in going into the Middle Eastern races at the back end of the season. So I'd say at this point in time, Hamilton needs that win, reclaim those 25, maybe 26 points, sort of reduce that gap to Verstappen, or even retake the lead in the championship just by a point or two, which is what it will be. Yeah, I think you can't sit in second for much longer because the racing is just so close, the season's so close, and there's only 6 races left, including COTA. So I'd say Hamilton needs this win more than Verstappen at the moment because I think if Hamilton does win this weekend, then yeah, Verstappen will be in second, but it'll only be by, again, literally a point or two. So I think Verstappen could make up that difference as the races go on. If he loses another race, then I think he could make that up. Whereas Hamilton, I'm not too sure. If Verstappen wins this race and then wins the next one, Mexico, I think it is, then I think that's going to be more and more difficult for Hamilton to retake the lead because he'll be 6 points behind now. Then that goes down to 12, 18, etc., etc. So yeah, at this point in time, Hamilton, I would say not. I wouldn't say he needs it, but he just needs it more than Verstappen, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I understand very much. Max Verstappen. Now, Max Verstappen, you're 6 points ahead. Um, Potentially could bring a drivers' championship for the first time since 2013. Is that right? 13? Yeah,
Yeah, 13 to
2013.
Red Bull. Yeah.
Um, well, what do you, all right, you're Christian Horner. What do you say to Max coming into this race?
I'd probably say keep it cool. You know this track well. It's a track you've done pretty well in the past. I remember he had, I think he overtook Raikkonen at one point on that sort of double apex right hander. I can't remember what year, and was just penalised. It was I think we have 3 different people on the podium that race. To be honest, I can't remember which year. I think it was 18. I'm not sure. It's a track he knows well. It's a track he's confident racing at. He's got the point. I just say keep it cool. You're ahead in the championship. Yeah, it's only by 6 points, but a race win here really puts you in contention to be the first Dutch world champion, the first Red Bull champion since 2012, the first non-Mercedes champion of the hybrid era, or the turbo hybrid
Indeed.
era. So I don't want to put, well, obviously Horner won't want to put too much pressure on Verstappen to win the race because he doesn't need, mathematically, it's obviously still possible for him to win the championship if he doesn't win in COTA. But winning here will give him a big boost, I think, because it puts him another, again, minimum 6 points ahead, maybe even 7, maybe even 8 if Verstappen wins and gets fastest lap as well. So that could put him anywhere between 12 and 14 points ahead with 5 races left, which again, yeah, Hamilton will be able to sort of chase him down, if you like, but it's going to get more and more difficult for Hamilton as the season goes on. If Verstappen wins in COTA and wins with fastest lap as well, I think that's what Red Bull will be looking to do this weekend: get that faster lap, get those essentially an extra sort of 8 points, if you like, in that in the drivers' championship, because that'll bring it to what, 14 points ahead, which again, Hamilton's going to need 3 race wins. If Verstappen finishes second in all of them, he's going to need 3 race wins to reel him in, if you like. So
Yeah.
if I was Horner, I would be saying just keep it cool. Race 1 will be great, but first or second will still be in real contention for this championship. If you come in second, then don't worry, you'll only be 1 to 3 points behind. Yeah, just give it your all and see what happens.
Right. Predictions. Where do you stand?
Here we go.
Here we go.
It's going to be a tricky one. I think it's going to be a dry race. I did check the weather in Austin for Sunday before coming on. I think that's the end of the wet race now, unless Brazil throws something into the mix. I don't think we're going to have a wet. We're certainly not going to have a wet race in the Middle East. I think that's
No,
a dead cert. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, it's supposed to be cloudy and slightly overcast, but I don't think it's going to be chucking it down or drizzling like we saw in Turkey a couple of weeks ago. Race winner. That's tricky, but for the sake of championship drama, I'm going to go Hamilton.
Okay.
The race winner. Or are we going to give? I forgot about pole position. Then let's go Verstappen pole position.
Yeah.
And Hamilton race winner. Just
right.
Because I would love to see someone track battling between the two of them. I think when Hamilton overtakes, or if he overtakes Verstappen during the race, I think the crowd would just go mental, because Hamilton's quite involved in the States. I think he trains over there, has a house over there or something. I think the US crowd will be more passionate or more partisan towards Hamilton than Verstappen as well. Driver of the day. I mean, I don't think we got one right all season.
No, which is poor. It just goes to show how hard it is.
Poor. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just.
Yeah.
I mean, you just never know each weekend. I mean, you can sort of guess or predict who's going to win the race, who's going to get pole. But a driver of the day is just, you don't know who's going to have a good race, who's going to have a bad race. Yeah. Let's go. I'm trying to think of someone I haven't gone with before.
Yeah.
I don't think Sainz got it last time out in Turkey, so I don't think I'll go for him, even though he is on a decent run of form at the moment. I don't think it'll be a Ferrari.
I think someone who you haven't mentioned is
yeah.
Well, minus the Haas. Minus the Haas.
Yeah, the Haas aren't going to get it.
I think Tsunoda, Gasly.
I don't think Tsunoda's going to get driver of the day. I don't think he's, with all due respect to Tsunoda, I don't think he's that good of a driver to get driver of the day. He had a decent start to the season, but overall it's been a poor season, you would say, for Yuki Tsunoda. But I'm just trying to think. McLaren could be one of the McLarens. Could be Vettel in the Aston Martin, Stroll, one of the Alpines, Alonso or Ocon. Gasly in the AlphaTauri is always a good shout. I don't think it'll be one of the Alfa Romeos. I don't see Raikkonen or Giovinazzi. I don't see Russell or Latifi. I certainly don't see Schumacher or Mazepin getting driver of the day. I mean, it could be one of the top 2 teams. It could be a Mercedes. It could be a Red Bull.
Yeah.
Let's go. I don't think I've gone Ocon before. I'll go Esteban Ocon.
Okay.
Driver of the day. Why not? Put it out there. A bit of a random shout, but let's go. Let's go Ocon.
All right then. Right, pole sitter. You know what? I'm gonna go for a clean sweep here. I reckon Hamilton. I reckon this is Hamilton's race, purely because I think this is the race where it's a make or break. I know there are 6 races left. You're thinking, Sam, there's 6 races left. You still got, Mexico and Brazil to come. But yeah, I think COTA's like where, he needs it, especially if you're going to make up 6 points. So pole sitter, Lewis Hamilton, race winner, Lewis Hamilton, and then driver of the day.
Driver of the day as well.
No, I
He
don't.
could. I mean, he could if he drives a perfect race and wins by 30 seconds or
Hmm.
something, and there's not much action in the midfield, then Hamilton could well get driver of the day. I mean, if there is action in the midfield, then it might go to one of those drivers. But
You see, you see, I don't know. So, driver of the day. I'm thinking, you know what? I'm thinking it could be one of the McLarens or one of the Ferraris.
yeah, it could. Yeah,
I just hope that if they have good pace in the race, not qualifying, but in the race, I really think Ferrari might, you know, have a good race again. So I don't think I may have gone for this one. I may have gone for this driver before, but Charles Leclerc in Ferrari. I
mm,
think he might be driver of the day. Again, fairly quiet this season. I think he's had one podium this season. I'm not sure. But yeah, Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari driver of the day.
yeah. I mean, he's half a point behind Science. Again, I think Science has gone a bit under the radar because, I mean, as I said, I think last week, everyone's focus is on Leclerc because obviously he's Ferrari's number one driver. But Science has quietly had a very good season with Ferrari this year,
It's
and
always the
yeah,
quiet ones that
yeah,
does
exactly.
the yeah, you know what I mean.
that do the damage. Yeah, so you've got Hamilton, Leclerc. I've gone
Yeah,
Verstappen, Hamilton, Ocon. Well, we'll have to see who's right.
we'll have to
I
see.
mean, I've completely lost track of the point system that we're doing for this. I haven't updated the spreadsheet in a while, but
It's fine.
I'll try and amend it for next week. We can have an up to date predictions going into the last 5 races.
It's fine. Well, so that's that with the US Grand Prix preview. Hopefully, it will be a great race, and the crowd. But another thing which we should talk about, the last thing that we're going to talk about for today, is the 2022 F1 calendar, which was released on last Friday. Um, well, what races that you're looking? Do you have the spreadsheet up?
um, I'm just looking at the calendar now, and 24 races. I think we said a couple of weeks ago that it's the most. I think it's the maximum
It's too
allowed
long.
number of races.
It's too long. It's too
I
long.
mean,
I'm
and
sorry. I'm sorry.
it is quite long. I mean, it starts in March and ends in pretty much the last or the second to last week of November. So it's a long time away, and it's 23 weeks away for not just the drivers but all the mechanics, engineers, just the amount of staff that travel with them as well. It's nearly half the year away from families. Yeah, they do have that sort of 4 week summer break, but it is only 4 weeks. It just flies by.
Mm.
But tracks I'm looking out for. I mean, Australia's back on the calendar for a
Woot
few years.
woot.
I mean, Australia hasn't provided great racing, let's be honest, the last few years because the only sort of overtakes you get are DRS. There aren't really many opportunities to sort of have a lunge down the inside, if you like.
Mm.
But it's good to see it back on the calendar. We've got Miami coming as well, and round
Yep.
5 in the first week of May, which I think you're particularly excited for.
Very,
Um,
very excited.
we've got obviously Zandvoort is staying. It'll be Sochi's last Grand Prix before it moves to St. Petersburg. We've got Singapore back on the calendar as well, subject to contract.
Yeah.
Same with the US, and then you sort of got the sort of as now traditional ending of sort of the USA, Mexico, Brazil, and then Abu Dhabi with the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix in Jeddah being moved to the second round of the season after Bahrain. Imola stays, which I'm a little bit surprised for. Do we need 2 races in Italy? Can we not go to Portimao or Nürburgring or Hockenheim or even Turkey, somewhere like
Oh,
that? That's four.
Hockenheim would have
That's
been a
4
good one.
tracks. Yeah,
I thought
exactly.
Hockenheim would have
There's
been
not
a
a
good
German
one.
Grand Prix.
Yeah.
We've got 2 races in Italy and 2 races in the States, but not one in Portugal, in
Germany.
Germany. There's another one in Turkey either, which is a little bit disappointing, especially considering Turkey has provided decent races the last 2 years it was run. I think Nürburgring as well provided a decent. I think Daniel Ricciardo got a podium in the Nürburgring last year, so spice things up a bit there. And I mean, Hockenheim is again another decent track which I quite like as well. I mean, a couple of years ago, I think it was 2019, where it rained. We had, I think, Vettel, or maybe even 2018, Vettel going into sort of the hairpin in the last sort of section. Whether he locked up, I'm not sure, or aquaplane, but ran into, but he retired. He had to retire because he went into the crowd. And Hamilton won the German Grand Prix after Vettel won the British Grand Prix, which I think is
Yeah.
quite a nice sort of roundabout sort of thing.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's good to see Australia back on the calendar. It's nice to see Imola. I do like Imola as a track in general.
Canada.
Spain's still there. Monaco's still. Oh yeah, Canada. I forgot about Canada. I
Canada.
do love
Yeah.
Canada on the track.
After,
Whenever I'm
yep, round 9.
and whenever I'm racing on the F1 games, I just like Canada. I don't know why. Yeah, I suppose it's one of the easier tracks to race on, but
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just really like it, and I'm not a fan of sort of street circuits in general. But Canada, for some reason, it doesn't feel like a street circuit. I don't know why, but yeah. Well, hopefully, no one runs into the wall of champions in sort of the last chicane,
Mm.
as we've seen a few, almost every weekend really in Canada. But as a whole, I do quite like the Canada. I would make a few changes to it, namely the tracks I mentioned earlier: Portimao, Nürburgring, Hockenheim, Istanbul Park. One of those, at least one of those on there.
Would
I
you
have to wait and see what.
would you want to start in the Middle East and finish in the Middle East?
Um, I'm not sure. I think it makes kind of sense that the way this season's ending out, for example, because we've got races in Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. That makes it a lot easier for the teams. I think they have a week's break as well
Mm-hmm.
in between them, or certainly between two of them. Um, yeah, I think it makes sense the way it's ending now. I mean, Bahrain has hosted the opening round before, obviously this year, last year, and I think it hosted it when it first came onto the calendar around about 06, 07 as well. But for me, Australia is the traditional start of the season. It always starts in Australia. So to have that as round 3, and essentially to have two money tracks, if you like, Bahrain and Saudi Arabia at the top two, and they're probably paid the big bucks for them to host the opening 2 rounds of the
Mm-hmm.
F1 season. But it's a little bit disappointing. Same with Abu Dhabi as the last race. The only reason that's there is because of money and sponsorship reasons. For me, the traditional last race of the season is Brazil. I mean, purely because it's a better track. It provides better racing, I think, anyway. But having said that, we do have the changes to Abu Dhabi coming this year, which I assume will stay for next year as well. We've got changes coming to Albert Park in Australia.
Yeah.
Again, hopefully that will provide better races. Then, of course, we've got Miami. Just looking at the track map now, it doesn't look like there's many good places for over there. It looks like a fast track. It's got two quite long ways. It's got one very long straight and then another slightly squiggly section, which I'm sure the drivers will be 95% flat out for that anyway. But I do see a few opportunities where you could overtake. But again, another street circuit. I'm not a fan of street circuits personally. I know you quite like the idea of Miami Grand Prix, so let me get your thoughts on it.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't looked at the the track itself. Well, not in a while actually, but I'm looking forward to it. A fresh race in America. Um, I I just think the crowd. It's all down to the crowd thing in the fans because like you said earlier, US fans are almost more passionate than British fans. I don't know what it is, but I just yeah. Um, and who wouldn't want to go to Miami? Like, if someone gives you like money to go to Miami, you're not gonna say no.
Yeah, yeah, you wouldn't say no
You
exactly.
wouldn't say no. So yeah, it's great, and I just think yeah, looking forward to it. Um, all right then. Just before we finish, 2022 calendar has been finalized and it's released. 3 Grand Prix. Where would you go? Where do you want to go?
Good question. I think the first one I'd go to is Silverstone.
Okay.
Just because British Grand Prix, iconic, usually provides decent racing. So yeah, British Grand Prix would be number one. Um, then I've got it's tricky. It gets tricky after that, I think, because
Just do
I've got so many that I'd like to go.
process of elimination. What ones
Yeah,
wouldn't you
that's
go
what I'm
to?
thinking. I wouldn't go. Well, I wouldn't go to most of them, to be honest.
Well,
I wouldn't
that
go
gives you
to
limited
Bahrain, Saudi Arabia,
choices.
Australia. um, I would probably go to. I don't know. I think I've got my three. I'll probably go to Brazil.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
Good
I
shout.
love Interlagos. I love
Very good
the
for
track, and
racing.
yeah, if it's a wet race, then even more chaos as it usually is. And my third one would be Spa, just because it's an iconic track. Love Spa. I mean, hopefully it's not like we saw this year. Hopefully it'll be a dry race, or certainly not as wet as, as this year's Grand Prix.
Mm.
Um, yeah, Spa, love the track. If I was sat on La Source or sort of Eau Rouge Radion, perfect. That would be spot on. That would be my three. And just before we get on to yours, the one thing I do take issue with this year's calendar is that there is a triple header: Monaco, Azerbaijan, and Canada. Which Monaco and
Oh,
Azerbaijan, yeah, fair enough.
I did not notice that.
They're not
Oh,
too far away. But going from Azerbaijan to Canada, you're going from West Asia or Far East Europe to Canada. That's a long trek, and to do that in a week, that will yeah.
oh
If I
wow.
was working in F1 with one of the teams, I would not be happiest that's happened. And when especially when you got three races in the Americas at the end of the season as well. I mean, yeah, Canada is sort of a traditionally sort of first few round race. I think it's been like round 5, round 6, round 7, sort of traditionally. But to go from Azerbaijan in, as I say, Far East Europe, Far West Asia to Canada, across Europe, across the Atlantic. And yeah, it's in sort of Eastern Canada, I suppose, in Quebec, but it's a long way to go in a week,
Yeah.
especially especially after they've already been to Monaco before, Azerbaijan, and yeah, that's tough on the staff. But I don't
Wow.
think F1 really considered that, to be honest, which is disappointing. But in a way, it's still good to see Canada back on the calendar.
Yeah. Very good.
Anyway, your three races.
Right. Like I've said, Miami. I'm very looking forward to Miami. I think, yeah, very looking forward to that. Yeah, great. Right. Another one. Oh, this is really tricky. Really,
There's too many
really
to choose from.
too many to choose from.
23 is too many.
It is, it is, it is. Right. I do like, I am one for the Temple of Speed. I believe that's a great
Good
place.
shout, yeah.
Yeah, especially when it's a couple days before my birthday, so that's always a nice touch.
Oh no, perfect. Perfect
Yeah,
weekend away.
perfect. But, but I think, yeah. So Miami, Belgium. I think Belgium is
Yeah.
a wonderful place. Spa, great place to go, and
Would you want to go to a night race, perhaps? Because we've got Singapore, we've got Bahrain, we've got Saudi Arabia. I presume, was it Abu Dhabi's a night race as well?
mm, yeah, um,
So you've got a wide variety of night races.
indeed,
I know you do like a night race.
I do, and Singapore is quite appealing. So I wouldn't mind a trip to Singapore actually. So yeah, Singapore. So Miami, Belgium,
Yeah, and Singapore. Decent, yeah.
Singapore. Yeah, that's great. Um, well, I believe that's it, really.
I think so, yeah.
I
It's
believe
the end already.
that's the end already. I
This
told
is
you
half
wouldn't.
an hour just flown by.
Yeah, told you wouldn't be long. So yeah, this week F1 is back. Trip to the US. Hamilton versus Verstappen. Story's coming to an end. 6 races. So who's going to come out on top in America this weekend? Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, or it could be somebody else. Maybe.
I mean, I know we've focused so much on Hamilton and Verstappen. It could be Bottas, it could be Perez, one of the
Yeah.
Ferrari, one of the imagine a McLaren on the podium. Zach Brown on the podium again, doing another shoey
Uh,
in the States.
you
It's
know what?
brilliant.
I do wait for the day until Lando Norris is on the top step. I don't know where, but I just hope he gets a race win.
Yeah,
Well,
same here.
excuse me. Well, this has been the end of the AfterBurners podcast episode. I've been your host, Samuel Oni, and it's a goodbye from me. Bye-bye. And it's a goodbye from Wes.
Bye-bye.
And we hope you enjoyed the US Grand Prix this weekend.